Again, depends on our experience, depends on our models, and now, by the way, it depends on also our local aviation authorities' requirements. Okay, now let's move to the next slide. And one of the most, again, controversial item here, and I'm gonna give you a little bit later why it is one of the most controversial. We're gonna discuss here again what is we try to understand what is hidden behind all these dispatch reliability groups and items and the critical points and etc. Okay, so we need to understand it because first step is, as we already mentioned, we have to collect information. The next step is we need to process this information. Okay, so that's what we are going now to discuss here. But before we go to our data processing discussion, again, I'm gonna give you here some small example. This story happened January 1st, 2019. Okay, I'm using here on 2 aircraft, right? Keep this case very simple, but same time very informative. So MSN number 05, MSN number 06, right? We're gonna discuss about first flight. That happened January 1st, 2019. By the way, both first scheduled flights are from same airport. I'm just using here example ASD. So let's see what happened with 05, first scheduled flight. So takeoff, scheduled takeoff from ASD, 7 o'clock in the morning. Flight number 122, landing 800, flying back to ASD, scheduled again 9 o'clock. Flight number 123, landing back to ASD, 10 o'clock. Now let's see what happened with 06, first flight. 10 o'clock from ASD, takeoff, again this is scheduled, right? Flight number 254, landing 1200, scheduled. Takeoff back to the ASD, scheduled again, 1300. Flight number 255, and landing to ASD, schedule, right, 1500. But when 05 was heading to the runway for takeoff, 7 o'clock, we had some engine problem. Is engine 1 fault. We have ground turnback. And our operation team decides to use 005 is out of service now, and decide to use instead of 05 this flight number 122, 123. Probably I need to put here 123 to use substitute aircraft, which is 06. And now let's see what happened with actual flights. So what we have. So 05 is out of service, as we can see here, because of engine problem, engine replaced, by the way. And this is 06 actual timeline. First flight, right? First flight, as we can see, it belongs actually 05. It should be done by 05, right? 122. Actual takeoff instead of 7 o'clock, 8:05, landing 9:05. Actual takeoff back to ASD 10:05 instead of 9 o'clock, and landing back to ASD 11:05 instead of 10 o'clock. And this belongs, as we said, belongs to the 05 aircraft scheduled flight. Now let's see what happened with the 06 first scheduled flight. Actual was 10, scheduled was 10, actual is 12. from ASD, right? Takeoff. Landing 1400, actual. Flying back, takeoff to ASD. Scheduled was 1300. Actual is 1500. And the landing to ASD. Actual is 1700 instead of 1500. All these substitutions, all this swapping, right, gave us minimum 5 records. Okay, and I'm not going now to go to detail level, but definitely we're gonna discuss some interesting items, interesting subjects. So record number 1, and I think it is clear. By the way, dates are, as you can see, same. January 1st, January 1st, January 1st, January 1st, January 1st. So record number 1 for aircraft 05. Flight number 122. So 122, right? 122. Delay 65 minutes, late arrival 65 minutes, initial consequential, initial. Problem reported ground or back, engine fault, aircraft 05 out of service, flight 122-3, 123, right, done by MSDN 06. Substitute aircraft, yes, because 06 in this case is substitute aircraft. And I'm going to bring here a little bit aircraft economics, chargeable, non-chargeable, chargeable, yes. Record number 2. Now this is for MSN 06. Just copy paste from first record, right? I think it's clear. Flight number 122, just 122. Delay 65 minutes. Late arrival 65 minutes. Initial or consequential, can be consequential, can be initial. Depends on what your data processing system tells you or tells processor. Problem reported, aircraft 06 swap due to 05 out of service. It makes sense. Corrective action? Not applicable. Substitute aircraft? No. Chargeable, non-chargeable? Can be chargeable, can be non-chargeable, based on our data processing system. Record number 3, 06. So we have to fly back, right? 123, 123. Flight number. 123. Delay 65 minutes, late arrival 65 minutes, initial consequential. Can be initial, can be consequential. Just copy paste from previous this PR, not applicable. Substitute aircraft, no. Chargeable, non-chargeable, can be chargeable, can be non-chargeable, based on our data processing system. And these 3 items are for first flight, actually for 05, right? But actual was done, as we said, by 06. It was swapped. Now let's see what happened with the 06 first scheduled flight. Let me put it this way here. Flight number 254, delayed 2 hours, late arrival 2 hours. Initial or consequential? Consequential. Problem reported. Just copy paste, late arrival 06 because it was swapped due to 05 out of service. Corrective action not applicable. Substitute aircraft no. Chargeable, non-chargeable no. And flying back, flight number 255, delayed 2 hours again, late arrival 2 hours. PR just copy paste from previous record. Corrective action not applicable. Substitute aircraft no. Chargeable, non-chargeable, non-chargeable. And now becomes very interesting part. What we want to see actually based on all these 5 records, right? All these aircraft swapping, substitution. Question here is what we want to see in our summary table, in our summary section. We want to see only initial items. We want to see only total items. We want to see the consequential items, chargeable items, non-chargeable items. What we want to see? Can we at least combine these first 3 records? Because from scheduled perspective, right, it is all about same, at least 5 numbers, 1, 2, 2, and 1, 2, 3. Or we need to keep it individually. See, we can say, hey, you know what, I don't care here because of this engine failure. All my scheduled flights, January 1st, 2019, went upside down. And to me, everything starts from engine problem. So ATA 72, just it is engine ATA, right? It can be 73, 75. I'm just example using 72. So all these items are 72. All these items are here initial. And all these items are, for me, chargeable. Because end of the day, 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, 10 minutes. We have to pay. Somebody should pay for these 6 hours, 10 minutes. So all these items to me is chargeable and related to each other. Very good point. Understandable. That brings us to a very interesting subject. Suppose we have a contractual agreement with aircraft manufacturer or engine manufacturer or operation service provider or maintenance service provider, or just call it a contract with service providers, right? So we take these records to our service providers with whom we have a contract and telling them, do you know what? All these 6 hour, 10-minute delays are chargeable. They say no. I mean, they read it, right? They say no. Only chargeable is here, 05, 8872. So only chargeable here is this one record, 65 minutes, not 6 hours. We can say, hey, do you know what? But because of all this engine failure, all my schedule, January 1st, went upside down. They say, okay, let's open our contractual agreement. And listen careful here.